All right, we're recording. Hey, hi everybody. Thank you for joining this Q&A for the San Francisco Indie Shorts Fest 2022. This is for the program Funny Haha, and we're very lucky to have one of the filmmakers here with us, the director of Avocado, Casey DeFremery. Casey, hi, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Where are you calling in from?
So I'm calling from Burbank. Technically it works, so don't tell anyone. But yeah, just kind of calling in. It's a regular Tuesday morning, so happy to be here.
Well, thanks for sneaking out and playing hooky from work for us. Um, so congratulations, well done.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Tell us a little bit. Introduce this film, just in case someone doesn't remember it or is watching this without seeing the Q&A. Real quick, brief pitch, synopsis. What is this film that you made? Tell us about it.
Sure. So the movie I made was Avocado. It's a short romantic comedy about a couple who decides to try out a new little kink in their romantic life, BDSM. And this is the story of how it all goes terribly, terribly wrong.
And what inspired this idea? Where'd the story come from?
So it was kind of like essentially of like a collision of like five different like anything I do, it's like five different things kind of happen all at once, and then usually in the shower, and then you just kind of come up with like a thought that collates them. So what happened was that there was I had this big fascination with like technology and like intimacy and vulnerability, like especially when you're with someone. And there was one day I was also just kind of laying around. I had this thought exercise of like, if I was tied up and I was told to like there was one command I was told to do that I would just be absolutely mortified to hear or be given, what would that be? And I was like, the password to my phone. And I was like, but why? Why would I have this kind of vibe? Because the turning point in the movie is a request by the dominatrix for the password to the phone, which leads to a lot of conflict and confusion and such. So I just kind of had that thought, and I was like, and realizing like these are the kind of things that like our generation encounters and has issues with that like previous generations don't or didn't. And when I found the location that I used, which was like this kind of like big pink neon studio out in LA, I was like, okay, I've found my visual look for the movie. And basically I just started writing it and just kind of tried to tackle the weird feelings I've had about all that kind of stuff over the
Yeah.
years and in regular dating and such, and just turned into the movie that got me into the Zoom chat.
Yeah, that seems to be a trend. Themes and topics of filmmaking, films have always been like, dating, relationships, romance, whatever. But now technology is creeping in, and there's a lot of films submitted that have like the uneasiness of technology meeting relationships. It's quite funny. So yours is very relevant. What were some of the challenges of making your movie?
Um, I wouldn't really say it was a challenge, but it was just something new. One of the things we did for the movie was we shot on 35 millimeter,
Hmm.
and um, one
Why? Why? So why? I mean, I love film. I started in film. Why 35 millimeter? Why film?
um, I was kind of thought like, well, why not? What happened was that my DP actually has like a 35 millimeter setup. Like he loves shooting it. He was kind of brought up doing it, but like in LA, for instance, there's only really like one film development company and scanning company. Because like there's still a lot of companies that shoot it, but it's not as prevalent as it was because of digital. And I always kind of thought like, well, if I'm trying to make my living as a full-time filmmaker, but I've never shot film, then what am I doing here? And I thought that I've been on productions where they've shot it, and you have to do a lot more prep because you're working with a lot less footage. Like every time it's rolling, you're just you're hearing a cash register go off every second. So
Yeah, yeah.
I was kind of thought like, well, instead of having to do a bunch of plugins and a bunch of lighting tricks to make it look like film, why not just shoot it on film? And my DP Ferguson was able to make it into a setup that was actually pretty easy.
Okay.
In actual practice, it actually wasn't that much different from shooting, like a regular movie on digital. But it's just, the prep you do to take advantage of like the limited film you have, I think actually made for a better movie.
Yeah, yeah. You're more decisive. You make better choices. You're not as maybe uh, you know, you don't just keep rolling. Uh,
Yeah.
was it a little bit nerve-wracking though? I mean, speaking of cash register through the film canister, does it make you nervous like that you're blowing money?
Um, in the lead up to it, it kind of puts you on edge. And like another short earlier this year, also with film, and that one was a much longer. That was a longer script, and there was a lot more. Like this one's a pretty like it's like a little chamber drama, so it's just like in one room. But the other one was a much bigger thing. So in both ones, I was fretting like, do I have enough film? Do I have this? Right. But then once you're actually doing the process, it's really not that much different. You just like I'm not a person who shoots a million takes anyways, so when you're literally not allowed to. But in both cases, I think the prep I did made for a better product. So
real quick, how long was your shoot, or some of the details of the production? Like, how long was the shoot, rehearsals, casting, that kind of stuff?
So we shot it in one day. It was like a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. kind of a kind of shoot. It's pretty like it was actually a pretty standard, like no real conflict kind of shoot. Yeah. And like the actual pre-production was actually really quick. Like the casting was done like the weekend before, and I got the actors to meet up for lunch like the day before, and I was kind of going on a hope and a prayer that they have chemistry and that they'd really bond and such. And they did. They like got along really well. They come across really sweet on camera.
Yeah, they work really well together. So they just met the day before. You didn't have rehearsal?
Like the day before was kind of like our rehearsal, but it was a case of we shot this right before the pandemic, so it would be even tougher now. But I think a lot of times it just kind of came down to scheduling and just getting, especially in LA, just getting two people in a room at the same time. It's like it's an endeavor. There's a joke that you'll talk with someone and you're like, oh, I haven't seen you in a long time. Let's meet up again. I have availability in 3 months.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a lot of that. So yeah,
especially on lower budget filmmaking too. It's like it's hard to coordinate. That's the biggest challenge. One of the biggest challenges is getting all the crew and resources together. But back to the actors. Yeah, I mean, were they comfortable with each other? I mean, they're kind of in an awkward. It's make believe, of course, and play, but it's a sexual kind of comedy, and the guy's half naked. So how was the comfort level for these two with each other?
Yeah, I mean, I always try to have a set that's always like as comfortable and open as possible, and trying to I work with the people who are around me who are who like I would go to war with on any situation, and they're all very willing, willing and considerate people, and I think that the actors really noticed that really early on. And I think it always goes from the top down. Like if you're a director who's insufferable and a menace to society, who just does not get along with people, and then from that very top, if you don't treat people very well or you don't create that kind of atmosphere, then it bleeds out into everyone else. So so in a way, I felt like it kind of came down to me to create that kind of atmosphere. Yeah. And they we all got along really well, and my lead actor actually knew a few of the cast members from a previous shoot, so there was at least that familiarity. But yeah, I think it all kind of starts from the top down, and it's
sure.
Actors are not cattle; they're people. And if you're in that kind of position, you don't want to make them feel like the odd one out. So
yeah. So have you ever made a feature film before?
I have.
Okay. So
if you don't mind, I'll do a cheap plug.
Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
It's a feature film called Warpath, and it's on Amazon Prime, Tubi, and all the sort of main streaming sites.
Fantastic. Congrats. So then why this leads up to my question, why a short film? Why'd you do a short film on 35 millimeter? Why didn't you just do another 30 feature film?
I would love it. I would love to do another feature. And so the feature was one that I shot in early 2014. It's an action movie, and it took a number of years to fully get it finished, and then another year or two to sort of get it fully distributed and out there, available for anyone to see. And in all those times, I would do short films for other people, but this is the first ones I'd done since my feature where I exclusively wrote it and wanted to sort of be in control of my own destiny. So, and I also kind of have a fear of, if you want to direct, you have to be directing. And, I was kind of worried about getting rusty. So that was kind of the thought process. So I don't mind doing shorts and trying out different things. This kind of thing I love, I would love to do this kind of romantic comedy. I thought it works great as a short. I don't know what that would be as a feature. And I'd rather try something, on a short. And if it doesn't work out great, oh well. There's always the next one. Whereas I think if you do a feature, you're putting more on the line. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, and shorts seem to give you more flexibility to play and be creative and adventuresome, you know.
mhm.
Um, this is more of a sequence or a scene in a feature film as opposed to a whole hour and a half movie, so it works as a short. Do you have any anecdotal moments? What was a favorite moment shooting, or if you don't have one of those, or any kind of fun facts while production was happening, a favorite scene?
Um, I mean, the shoot was one of those ones where I almost kind of don't have many memories of it because it was just there wasn't really anything like there wasn't really any big drama or anything that led into it. But one of my favorite memories during the process was actually during casting. So, and especially when you're casting for like for like the role of the dominatrix, who's Gabriella in the film. Um,
Hmm.
she's basically in the film, she's basically like trying out for the very first time. So she makes some mistakes and he makes a mistake as the sub.
Uh-huh.
But so during the audition process, I was seeing like I saw many different types of women for the role, and they're all kind of giving their own different perspectives. And so Stephanie, the one who was cast, she came in, and this was on like a Saturday at like 9:30 that she came in, like 9:30 a.m. And she came in wearing an outfit for the occasion.
Oh.
She comes in, we do the read, like we get along really well. And the person after her didn't show up. So when she was done, I was just kind of hanging outside the casting room for a minute. And I saw she was in the office, and she was talking with like the secretary there because she'd been there a bunch. And I was like, oh, hey, I'm just waiting for my Uber. I'm like, oh, okay. And that same day, there was actually a big casting call for like this like kids TV show. So there's like 50 kids running around the office, and so I was kind of standing around. I saw like just her just kind of waiting, just in her dominatrix outfit, just talking with the people. Like I saw like some like a little boy kind of run up and just kind of look at her like what, and I was like, I feel like this is kind of like what that character kind of, would sort of be like. She bought the outfit, but she's waiting for her Uber, and this is just
Yeah,
an LA site. And
right.
I was like, the way she played off and all that was just like, it was just very charming. So
Yeah.
it
It's
wasn't,
almost like the audition continued after the actual proper audition, and you just saw, she was a good person and actor, right?
yeah, it's really not, it's not over until you're literally in your Uber and the door's closed. Like then you can break character. It wasn't the only reason she was cast, but there was something just so neat and sweet about it that
Yeah.
I appreciated.
Yeah. Well, it's a sweet little film, a fun little film, and congratulations on completing it, and also getting into our film festival.
I mean, yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a blast, going through the festival circuit. Like I waited for an entire year after the movie was finished before I started to bring it to festivals because I wanted to bring it into like in-person festivals and
Oh, wow. Wow.
and I love like the streaming option as well. So it's just been fun being back in theaters and
Yeah.
having something new to show people.
Right on. I agree. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. That's all the time we have. We got another Q&A coming up. It was a pleasure meeting you. I hope to meet you in person someday. And congrats on Avocado, a good little film.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Right on. All right. See you, Casey.
All right. See ya.